The neutral space station Erix-9 floated silently between three star systems, a place where humans and aliens met under strict rules of peace. Built from silver alloy and glowing blue energy lines, the station was known as a neutral ground where wars paused and diplomacy ruled. Music echoed through the central hall as representatives of dozens of alien species gathered for the annual cultural exchange night. Humans were still new to the galaxy, watched carefully, judged quietly, and often underestimated. Among the humans stood Commander Aaron Cole, calm but observant. He had learned that survival among the stars depended not only on strength, but on awareness. As he scanned the hall, his eyes stopped on someone unusual. Near the edge of the room stood an alien woman unlike any he had ever seen. She was tall, elegant, and dressed in dark flowing fabric that seemed to absorb the light around her. Her skin was pale, almost glowing, and her long silver hair rested perfectly on her shoulders. But it was her eyes that unsettled him, deep crimson, ancient, and full of quiet power. Other aliens avoided her. Conversations faded when they noticed her presence. Some stepped back in fear, others lowered their heads in respect. Aaron felt the tension but did not understand it. To him, she looked lonely, standing apart from the celebration, as if she did not belong. The music shifted into a slow, rhythmic tone, meant to encourage unity between species. Without fully knowing why, Aaron felt compelled to act. Against protocol, against common sense, and against the silent warnings in the room, he walked toward her. Each step felt heavier, as if the station itself was watching. Several alien delegates froze. A reptilian ambassador hissed softly. A tall insectoid being clicked in alarm. But Aaron stopped in front of the woman and met her red gaze without fear. "Would you like to dance?" he asked calmly. Silence crashed over the hall. The music stopped. Even the station's hum seemed to fade. Dozens of eyes turned toward them in shock. No one had ever spoken to her so casually. The alien woman studied him closely. Time seemed to slow as she tilted her head slightly, as if examining something rare. "A human," she said softly, her voice smooth but carrying weight. "Asking me to dance." Aaron nodded. "Everyone deserves a moment to belong," he replied. For a long moment, no one breathed. Then slowly the woman smiled. It was not warm, but it was not cruel either. She extended her hand. "Very well," she said. "Let us dance." As their hands touched, a strange chill spread through the room. Lights flickered. The music resumed on its own, deeper and heavier than before. They moved together across the floor, her movements graceful and precise, his steady and confident. Yet with every step, the air grew tense. Some aliens backed away in fear. Others whispered ancient words Aaron could not understand. Suddenly, the lights above them dimmed. A massive symbol appeared in the air behind the woman, glowing red like fresh embers. It was ancient, powerful, and forbidden. Gasps echoed through the hall. Several alien leaders fell to their knees. "It cannot be," someone whispered. The woman's eyes burned brighter as the symbol pulsed. Her calm presence now felt overwhelming, like standing near a star about to explode. The music stopped once more. She released Aaron's hand and turned to face the room. "I see my name still carries fear," she said evenly. "Good." Aaron stepped back, his heart racing, finally understanding that this was no ordinary alien. Armed guards rushed forward, but froze when she looked at them. "I am the Vampire Queen," she declared. "And this human has my attention." The station trembled slightly, as if reacting to her words. Fear filled the hall. Humanity had just stepped into something ancient, dangerous, and unstoppable. And it all began with a simple dance. The hall of Erix-9 felt frozen in time after the vampire Queen revealed herself. Fear spread like a shadow across every species present. The humans stood confused but alert, while alien leaders reacted with pure terror. Some fell to their knees, others stepped back as far as possible, as if distance alone could protect them. The name Vampire Queen carried weight older than the station, older than most civilizations. It was a name spoken only in warnings and forgotten history. The woman stood tall and calm. Her red eyes moved slowly across the crowd. She showed no anger, only quiet control. Guards from several alien factions raised their weapons, but none dared to fire. Their instincts screamed danger. Queen lifted one hand and the air itself seemed to obey. The guards froze, unable to move, their weapons powered down as if drained of life energy. She turned slightly and looked at the human commander, Aaron Cole. He was breathing hard, but he did not run. His mind raced, yet he stood his ground. Something about the Queen felt terrifying, yet controlled, like a storm held back by will. She studied him again, not as prey, but as a question. Long ago my kind ruled the dark regions of the galaxy, she said. Her voice echoed in every mind without effort. We were not monsters, we were rulers. We brought order through fear. When the younger races united, they betrayed us. They hunted us, erased our worlds, and wrote lies about our extinction. Murmurs spread through the hall. Ancient races remembered fragments of that war. Stories of stars going dark and fleets disappearing without trace. The Queen continued walking slowly, her steps silent. The glowing symbol behind her faded, but its presence remained heavy. I have lived through empires rising and falling, she said calmly. I came here in silence to observe, to judge whether this galaxy learned from its past. An alien council leader gathered courage and spoke. Humans should be destroyed now. They have offended you. They are weak, unpredictable, and dangerous. The Queen stopped and turned sharply. Her eyes flared brighter. The council leader collapsed to the floor, gasping as his life force drained only enough to teach fear. Do not speak for me, she said. I decide who is weak. She looked again at Aaron. The human had done something no one else dared. He saw her not as a myth, not as a weapon, but as a being. He asked her to dance, not to challenge, but to include. That moment mattered. Humans are young, she said. Their bodies are fragile, their lives short, but their minds are strong. They do not freeze when faced with the unknown. They move forward. This unsettled the other species. Humans were expected to beg, to hide, to submit. Instead they stood together behind their commander, some afraid, yes, but united. The Queen turned fully toward the humans. You did not know who I was, yet you showed respect without fear. That is rare. The station alarms suddenly activated. Red lights flashed silently. Across the hall, the Galactic Council had issued an emergency order. Hidden fleets were moving toward Eric's 9, planning to erase both the Vampire Queen and humanity in one strike. The Queen smiled slightly as she sensed it. They still choose fear, she said. She raised her hand and the station stabilized. The alarm shut down. She looked at Aaron once more and spoke words that would echo across the galaxy. You have stepped into a war older than your species, but you will not face it alone. The truth was clear now. Humanity had been noticed, not as victims, not as servants, but as a variable the galaxy could no longer ignore. The atmosphere inside Eric's 9 shifted from fear to pressure. The Vampire Queen did not move yet. Everyone felt as if they were standing before a living judgment. The alien leaders who once spoke with authority now avoided her gaze. Humanity stood in the center of the hall, uncertain of what would come next. The Queen had revealed the truth, but truth alone was never the end of a story. She began to walk slowly around the humans. Her presence pressed against their minds, not as pain but as weight. Each step felt deliberate, as if she were measuring more than distance. She was judging their resolve, their unity, their intent. You call yourselves explorers, she said, her voice calm, yet cutting. You spread into the stars without knowing what waits in the dark. Tell me why I should allow your kind to survive what is coming. The question was not asked with anger, it was asked with curiosity. Aaron Cole stepped forward, knowing silence would be mistaken for weakness. He spoke carefully, choosing honesty over pride. We explore because we must, he said. We learn because we survive by understanding. And when we stand together, we become more than we were. The Queen stopped and studied him deeply. Her red eyes searched beyond his words into his thoughts. She saw fear there, but also loyalty and purpose that pleased her. Other species whispered among themselves, certain the humans would fail the test. Many had watched humanity rise quickly in technology and numbers. They feared them yet expected them to break under true pressure. The Queen lifted her hand and the station lights dimmed. Around the hall, holographic projections appeared showing moments of human history, wars, sacrifices, rebuilding after destruction, standing again after failure. The humans watched silently. Some felt pride, others remembered loss. "Your kind destroys itself," she said. "Why should I trust a species that fights its own reflection?" Aaron answered without hesitation. "Because every time we fall, we learn, and because when an enemy threatens our future, we stop fighting each other." That answer carried weight. The Queen saw truth in it. Humans were chaotic but adaptable, emotional but resilient. Without warning, the Queen created a test. A wave of psychic pressure swept the hall. Several alien representatives collapsed immediately, unable to withstand it. Humans struggled. Some fell to their knees. Others helped them stand. None ran. None turned on each other. The Queen observed closely. She saw hands reaching out. She saw humans supporting the weak. She saw fear but not surrender. "Enough," she said, and the pressure vanished. The aliens stared in disbelief. Humanity had endured something that ancient species could not. Before anyone could speak, alarms sounded. Again, this time real ships exited hyperspace around Eric's 9. The Galactic Council had decided judgment was over, execution was easier. The Queen turned toward the viewport. Her expression darkened. "They fear change," she said, "and fear makes fools of kings." She faced the humans once more. "This galaxy will burn whether you stand or hide," she said. "Your choice will decide how you are remembered." The human fleet commanders requested permission to engage. They were outnumbered, outgunned, yet none suggested retreat. "We stand," Irene said simply. The Queen watched them for a long moment. Then she nodded slightly. "Very well, humanity will be tested by fire." Beyond the station, weapons charged and fleets moved into position. The trial was over. Judgment had been made, and humanity was still standing. The first enemy ships appeared outside. Eric's 9 like shadows crawling out of the void. Massive war vessels formed a tight circle around the station, blocking every escape route. Their hulls carried the symbols of the Galactic Council, the same council that claimed to protect peace. The trap was complete inside the station. Fear returned stronger than before. Alien leaders shouted in panic. Some demanded surrender. Others tried to flee, even though there was nowhere to go. Humans moved quickly, forming defensive lines, guiding civilians toward protected areas. Their movements were calm, trained, and united. Vampire Queen stood near the central viewport, watching the fleet assemble. Her expression did not change, but her presence grew heavier. She had seen this before. Councils that spoke of balance always chose control when fear appeared. "They have decided," she said softly. "Peace was never their goal." Energy weapons began charging outside. The glow of destruction reflected across the station walls. A single strike would tear Eric's 9 apart and erase everyone inside. Human commanders opened communication channels, requesting time to evacuate, but the Council fleet ignored them. Aaron Cole turned toward the Queen. His voice was steady but urgent. "If they fire, this station dies." The Queen looked at him. "Humans value life," she said, "even when others do not." She raised one hand and the station shields reinforced beyond their limits. Ancient energy flowed through the structure, binding metal and force into something stronger. The first volley struck. The impact shook the station violently. Lights flickered, gravity shifted, screams echoed, yet the station held. The Council fleet paused, surprised. Their weapons had failed to destroy the target. Humans did not waste the moment. Engineering teams stabilized systems, security teams protected civilians. Pilots rushed to their fighters, launching from hidden bays. Small human ships moved fast, striking supply vessels and retreating. Before retaliation, they fought with precision, not brute force. Queen watched closely. This was not how ancient empires fought. Humans used timing, distraction, and sacrifice. Every move served a purpose. The Council realized too late that the station was bait. A second fleet emerged from hyperspace behind them. Human allies, mercenaries, traders, explorers, who had answered a silent call. Humanity had prepared for betrayal, even when hoping for peace. The battle spread across space, beams of light crossed. The stars' explosions painted the darkness. Alien council ships began to fall. One by one, their formation broke inside the station. An elite council force breached the hull. They moved fast, targeting the humans first, believing them to be the weakest. They were wrong. Humans fought with determination, using the environment, turning corridors into traps, protecting each other without hesitation. Even wounded soldiers stayed standing long enough to hold the line. The Vampire Queen stepped forward when the breach reached the core. She did not rush, she did not shout. She simply released a fraction of her power. The invaders froze as their life energy drained just enough to drop them unconscious. "This is why they lost," she said. "They never adapt outside." The Council flagship attempted a final strike, targeting the station core. The Queen sensed it instantly. She looked at Aaron. "This will end now." She extended both hands. Space itself twisted. The flagship systems failed. Its weapons powered down, its shields collapsed. The ship drifted helpless. Human pilots surrounded it, weapons ready. "Stand down," the Queen commanded, her voice echoing through open channels. "This war is over." The Council fleet retreated. Those who could flee did, those who could not surrendered. Silence returned slowly to Eric's 9. Smoke drifted through damaged halls. Medical teams moved without pause. Humans and aliens alike stared in disbelief. Vampire Queen turned back to the humans. "You stood when the galaxy expected you to fall. You protected those who were not your own." She paused, then added quietly, "This changes everything." Humanity had survived the trap, and the galaxy would never look at them the same again.
After the battle, the silence around Eric's 9 felt unreal. The stars outside no longer burned with weapons fire, yet the station carried deep scars. Sections of the hull were damaged, corridors were dark, and the air smelled of heat and metal, but life continued. Humans and aliens worked side by side, repairing systems, treating the wounded, and restoring order. Something had changed between them. The Vampire Queen remained present yet distant. She observed quietly as humans took responsibility without hesitation. No one waited for orders. Help was given freely, even to species that had once looked down on humanity. This was not strength born from domination, but from choice. Aaron Cole walked through the central hall, watching teams coordinate with efficiency. He noticed alien delegates speaking with humans, not in command tones, but with respect. Fear was still there, but it was no longer mixed with contempt. The Queen finally spoke, calling for a gathering. Her voice carried through the station without amplification. Leaders from every surviving faction arrived. Cautiously they stood before her and before humanity, uncertain of what future awaited. "You have witnessed today the failure of the Council," she said. "They claimed balance yet chose fear. They attacked without honor and lost without understanding." She turned slightly toward the humans. Humanity did not hide. They did not abandon those weaker than themselves. They fought with intelligence and restraint. A murmur spread among the gathered species. This was unheard of praise from an ancient ruler. The Queen continued, "I offer an alliance, not one of rulers and servants, but of equals. Humanity will stand with my kind, not as tools, but as partners." Shock filled the hall. The idea of standing beside the Vampire Queen terrified many, but refusing her carried even greater risk. Aaron stepped forward. "Humans accept alliances carefully," he said, "but we do not turn away from those who stand with us in honesty." The Queen studied him, then nodded. "Good." From that moment, cooperation began. Human engineers combined technology with ancient vampire knowledge. Shields improved faster, ships were designed, and defensive systems evolved beyond anything the galaxy had seen. The Queen shared secrets, not freely but wisely, testing humanity with responsibility. Other species watched closely. Some feared this alliance, others sought protection under it. Smaller civilizations approached humanity directly, seeking partnership rather than council permission. The balance of power shifted. Yet peace did not follow immediately. Deep within forgotten regions, something ancient stirred, drawn by the Queen's energy and humanity's sudden rise. It watched, it waited. The Queen felt it before anyone else. Her expression hardened. She turned away from the stars toward the humans. The galaxy has noticed you, she said quietly, and not all who watch wish to negotiate. Human analysts confirmed unusual energy readings far beyond known space. An entity older than the Queen's own reign had awakened. This enemy does not fear me, she admitted. It has destroyed stars and devoured empires. Silence followed. Human leaders exchanged looks, then responded with resolve. If it bleeds, we fight it. If it thinks we run, we surprise it. The Queen almost smiled. Preparations began immediately. Joint fleets trained together. Human adaptability impressed even the ancient vampire strategists. New tactics formed, blending ancient foresight with human unpredictability. As fleets gathered, the Queen stood beside Aaron, watching ships align. Humanity had risen not by conquest but by choice, and now the galaxy would test whether that rise was deserved. The alliance had been forged. The true war was coming. The warning signs arrived before the enemy itself. Space around the Alliance fleets began to distort. Stars stretched like fading embers. Sensors failed, then returned, showing impossible readings. Crews across human and vampire ships felt pressure in their minds, not pain but presence. Something vast was watching them. Humanity had faced powerful enemies before, but this felt different, older, colder, beyond logic. The vampire queen stood at the center of the command chamber, her posture rigid. She had lived through ages of war, yet even she felt the weight of this moment. The ancient entity was close. She could sense its hunger, not for territory, but for existence itself. This is the devourer, she said quietly. It does not conquer, it erases. Human officers exchanged looks. Fear was there, but so was focus. Fleets repositioned, engineers adjusted shields, scientists pushed sensors beyond safe limits. Humanity did not wait for certainty, they acted. The devourer emerged without warning. Space folded inward, revealing a massive shape formed of darkness and shifting light. It had no clear form, only motion and endless depth. Entire stars dimmed as it passed, drawing energy effortlessly. The vampire fleets hesitated. Their ancient weapons felt small against such a force. The Queen felt doubt for the first time in centuries. The devourer spoke not in sound but in thought. You rise too fast, little flames it projected, you will fade. Several allied ships lost power instantly, drifting lifeless. Humanity responded not with panic but coordination. Small strike groups moved not to attack but to observe, mapping its reactions, sacrificing drones and unmanned craft to learn patterns. The Queen watched closely. Humans were not trying to overpower the devourer, they were studying it. Human science teams identified fluctuations, moments where the entity adjusted its form to consume energy. Those moments created brief instability. There, she said quietly, impressed. Human command acted instantly. Fleets shifted weapons not to maximum output but to precise timing. Waves of focused energy struck during those unstable moments, not enough to destroy but enough to force reaction. The devourer recoiled, slightly surprised. It adapted quickly, striking back with devastating force. Entire squadrons were lost. Human ships burned, yet others moved into cover. Evacuations pulling survivors away without hesitation. The Queen joined the fight, releasing controlled bursts of ancient power, amplifying human attacks rather than replacing them. She realized something important: humans did not rely on her, they fought beside her. The devourer focused on humanity, sensing the growing threat. It struck at human command vessels, believing leadership collapse would end resistance. Aaron Cole ordered the fleet to hold position. He knew retreat would signal weakness. We do not run, he said calmly. Human ships formed a defensive pattern, sacrificing outer layers to protect the core. Fleets burned but held. The devourer pressed harder, its power overwhelming. The Queen felt her strength draining faster than expected. This enemy was beyond even her limits. Then humanity did something unexpected. Instead of increasing firepower, they cut it. Human ships powered down weapons, redirecting energy into shields and sensors. They fed data into a single point, calculating something in real time. The Queen realized they were planning, not reacting. Humanity discovered the devourer was not infinite, it fed constantly to maintain form. When denied energy, even briefly, it weakened. On command, human fleets executed a synchronized maneuver, cutting emissions completely. Space went silent. The devourer slowed, confused. Starlight returned. Then humanity struck. Every ship released stored energy in one focused wave, timed perfectly into the devourer's core. The Queen added her remaining strength, amplifying the moment. The devourer screamed across minds, collapsing inward, its form tearing itself apart, unable to sustain existence without constant feeding. When silence returned, the stars burned bright again. Humanity had done the impossible, not by power alone but by understanding. The Queen looked at the humans with something close to awe. "You have changed the galaxy," she said. Humanity had passed the greatest test not by becoming monsters but by remaining human. The battlefield drifted into silence where the Devourer had fallen. Space felt lighter, as if the universe itself had taken a breath. Ships floated among fading energy waves and broken debris, but the stars still burned bright. Humanity had survived something that should not have been survived. Rescue operations began immediately. Human crews moved without hesitation, pulling survivors from damaged vessels, repairing systems, and sharing resources. Even after facing extinction, their first instinct was preservation, not conquest. The Allied fleets watched this with quiet respect. The Vampire Queen stood alone near the viewport, gazing into the vast darkness. She had witnessed countless endings, yet this felt like a beginning. Humanity had not replaced old powers, they had redefined what power meant. She turned toward the Human Command Council. "You faced the abyss, and did not lose yourselves," she said softly. "That is rare among the stars." News of the victory spread rapidly across distant systems. Civilizations listened in disbelief. The Devourer had been a legend used to frighten young species and control borders. Humanity had ended it through cooperation, strategy, and restraint. Smaller races declared loyalty to the Human Alliance not out of fear but hope. They saw in humanity a future where strength did not mean domination. The Galactic Council attempted to re-establish authority, but their influence had shattered. Too many worlds had seen their betrayal. Too many lives had been saved by human hands. At Eric's 9, a formal gathering was held. Representatives from dozens of species stood beside human leaders. No weapons were present, no threats were spoken. The Vampire Queen stepped forward. "For the last time in this age I ruled through fear because fear was all the galaxy understood," she said. "Humanity has shown another path." She paused, looking directly at Aaron Cole. "From this moment the age of hidden empires ends. I withdraw my throne and my shadows." Gasps echoed. The Queen continued, "My kind will no longer rule from darkness. We will stand openly as guardians under the laws humanity helped create." The declaration changed everything. An immortal ruler stepping down by choice was unheard of. Humanity did not celebrate loudly, they accepted responsibility with solemn understanding. Power required restraint. A new alliance charter was formed based on shared defense, shared knowledge, and mutual respect. Humans did not place themselves above others, instead, they built systems where every voice mattered. Years passed. Human colonies expanded not as conquerors but as builders. Joint academies trained future leaders. Scientists from different species worked together. Ships bore symbols of unity rather than domination. The story of the dance became legend, told across worlds, a simple moment of courage that changed the fate of the galaxy. On a quiet station far from war, Aaron stood once more beneath soft lights. Music played, familiar and calm. The Vampire Queen, now dressed without symbols of rule, stood among others, not feared but respected. "May I have this dance?" she asked with a small smile. Aaron smiled in return and accepted. Around them no one panicked, no one feared. Humanity had ascended not because they were the strongest but because they chose to be better. And the galaxy followed.